Okay. Bakit yan?
To those raising the Palestinian flag, where were you when ISIS was to those raising to those raising the Palestinian flag, what
being ay dynamic.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang mag-ibig, sa sinamanan, alam ng puso, sa linig ko'y buhay. Upang hinirang, wala ng pag-ibig, sa mantutunin, kita pasisigil, sa kanalang tulong sa sinulat, sa langit o pagkang, ay nanatulakaw, sa pagkalingaman, sa pagkawal ko'y ay nanaginigin, ang ituwid na parang nakainat, ang kahilatigin, lumabang araw ng maraming pagsinta, ay nangit sa akin mo. Ang higaya dapat ay marami, ang malagay ng dahil sa'yo. Layo mula sa paniniwala ang ginawang para sa katawan. Pagsamo'y nabuhay, bunga ng bawat suway buhay. Kapayapaan, katarungan, ay ang pinanglalaban. Pagpala'y magsamuro, ang sabo, pagsamuro, na ikang mamahalin. Walang pipigil sa damdamin, mga pangako'y tutuparin. Ang buhay kami sa'yo'y magbabantay, mananatili sa puso't isipan. Ang lahat tumubig ay nagbuwis ng buhay, nasa piling ng may kapal. Ang sango'y nabuhay, bunga ng bawat suway buhay. Kapayapaan, katarungan, ay ating ang Ang Bureau Administration ng Pinoy Balila at Ibabaw ay tumatalakay sa may isang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapatingin, komentaryo at balita ang programa ay patas sa lahat. Walang pinigilingan, walang pinakampihan at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, tingnan natin ang anong oras kasalukuyan, no? Okay, ang check-in time natin, 40 minutos pa pasado alas 6. Okay, dito po sa programa natin, no? Ayan. So, okay, tingnan natin ang kung ano pwede po ang una, no? Mga suki, mga kababayan. Okay. Sino bang pwede natin na unahin? Si Michelle Obama, no? Okay, pakinggan nga natin si Michelle Obama. Okay, sa US. Okay, kung ano po plano niya. Okay, pagdating sa 2024 mga suki, no? Okay, dito tayo sa Consolidated News natin. Okay, sa balitang okay, sa Servisyo Publiko, halo-halo special opinion balita at iba pa, no? Okay, sa kasama po sa Servisyo Publiko, tinig ng mamamayan, okay, at kasumbungan ng mamamayan, no? Ayan. So, hindi na tayo paligoy-ligoy, saka tayo ay magbalita po ng ng national news. Okay, so, umpisan natin ito. Okay, baka may makuha tayo ito 15 years later. Okay, Michelle Obama reflect on 208. No, sana ito move na po mga kababayan. Okay, kung ano ba ang kanyang plano, no? Okay, sa 2024. Okay, pakinggan natin. Okay, former First Lady po ng 8 taon, itong si Michelle Obama, no? Kabiyak po, asawa po ni Barack Obama, no? Former President Barack Obama. Pakinggan natin. Ayan.
Well, hey! Wow, look at you guys! Oh! Well, hello, Obama land. How are you guys doing? Oh, wow, it is it's wonderful to be back with all of you tonight. You know, the lights are down, but I saw some familiar faces out there. I hope this has been a spectacular few days for you all, hugging folks that you haven't seen in years and reminiscing about that day 15 years ago. Woo! 15 years ago. Oh, I know that we all have stories from that night. Maybe you were still knocking on doors in Pennsylvania or Florida or maybe Nevada. Maybe you were watching on TV when you got a call from your grandmother who thought that this day would never come. Or maybe you found a moment to yourself just to reflect outside of all the fuss. For me, one of my favorite stories from that night, I hope that Barack hasn't told it already because it's one of our favorites with our family. We were at the Hyatt. And the networks had already called the election for Barack, and you know, in a blur, our lives changed. You know, his security detail came in. There was a football. There was, you know, you could feel that this was something different. So we got into the limos and left the Hyatt to go to Grant Park, and it was our first motorcade with Barack as president-elect. And so he had a presidential motorcade, which we had never really experienced. And as you all may remember, the president, when you're driving around, the Secret Service closes off all the intersections. There's never any traffic on the street when the president is traveling. And here we are, our family in the motorcade, and we're going down Lakeshore Drive, a drive we had taken almost every day, a crowded drive.
Okay, from the start, no?
It graduated into colonization.
Well, hey! Wow, look at you guys! Oh! Well, hello, Obama land. How are you guys doing? Oh, wow, it is it's wonderful to be back with all of you tonight. You know, the lights are down, but I saw some familiar faces out there. I hope this has been a spectacular few days for you all, hugging folks that you haven't seen in years and reminiscing about that day 15 years ago. Woo! 15 years ago. Oh, I know that we all have stories from that night. Maybe you were still knocking on doors in Pennsylvania or Florida or maybe Nevada. Maybe you were watching on TV when you got a call from your grandmother who thought that this day would never come. Or maybe you found a moment to yourself just to reflect outside of all the fuss. For me, one of my favorite stories from that night, I hope that Barack hasn't told it already because it's one of our favorites with our family. We were at the Hyatt, and the networks had already called the election for Barack, and you know, in a blur, our lives changed. You know, his security detail came in. There was a football. There was, you know, you could feel that this was something different. So we got into the limos and left the Hyatt to go to Grant Park. And it was our first motorcade with Barack as president-elect. And so he had a presidential motorcade, which we had never really experienced. And as you all may remember, the president, when you're driving around, the Secret Service closes off all the intersections. There's never any traffic on the street when the president is traveling. And here we are, our family in the motorcade, and we're going down Lakeshore Drive, a drive we had taken almost every day, a crowded drive. And so we're there, no one's on the street, not a car, nothing. So Malia and the girls are peering out the window, and she turned around to us and she said, "Daddy, there's no one on the road. I don't think anybody's coming to your party." You know, we found ourselves in these parenting moments throughout the campaign where you realize they're just there. And you forget, oh yeah, right. We have to explain this all to you. Because if you remember, primary season was long. So there was always a celebration after Ohio and then New Hampshire. And then the girls were there. We'd walk on stage and we'd leave and we're walking and Malia would say, is Dad president yet? I'd be like, oh, no, not yet. It's like, well, when will we know? And I said, well, you'll know because it'll be a different celebration. So I was like, it's here. But I love that story because it takes me right back to who we all were back then. Back when my babies were babies. And many of you were practically babies yourselves. But I also think that story gives voice to a lot of the anxieties so many of us were feeling throughout that process. The little voices that wondered if it could really happen. Would anyone come to our party? Were folks truly ready to embrace our vision for this country? Were they ready to set aside their fears and their doubts? Were they ready to push past their cynicism and complacency? Were they willing to open their hearts and embrace a broader set of possibilities for what it means to be an American? Would they come? Because all of you know that nothing about that campaign or that election was easy or unearned. Nothing was preordained. But what I love about all of you all is that so many of you got involved, not just in spite of the scale of the challenge, but because of it. Because you believe that change is possible, that our politics can reflect our values. We need to see some of that right now. That our hopes are more powerful than our fears. And in the 8 years that followed, all of you proved that that was true again and again and again. By all the work that we accomplished, securing the right to health insurance for millions of Americans, pulling our country out of a historic economic crisis, helping to jumpstart clean energy revolution, affirming the truth of marriage equality. All the work we did to support our military families, helping our kids grow up healthy and reach their fullest potential, encouraging our students to get into and through college, helping girls around the world get the education they deserve in every step of the way, leading with respect and inclusion and integrity and honesty and no scandals and no indictments and no mess. Man, y'all made it look easy. And that's why tonight is about so much more than what happened on one night 15 years ago. It's about all the work that led up to it and all the work that's happened since. It's about all those emails that you answered after midnight and all those work days that started before sunrise, every memo you wrote, meeting you held, every event you organized to get a bill passed or policy enacted. And I want to just indulge myself for a moment by just giving a special shout out to my East Wing team. You know, I just have to say that my team's commitment helped reshape the country's expectation of what a first lady could be. And our little mighty team, we did it without a roadmap or a lot of resources or fanfare. And even more than all the substantive accomplishments on a deeply personal level, I just want to say that you all helped protect my girls from all that they were going through. The unwanted media scrutiny on these little bitty girls, helping them survive living amid the brightest spotlight in the world. You supported our girls and my mother everywhere we went. So that work that you did allowed us not just to represent this country with dignity, but also to maintain a strength of bond as a family. And I've said this before, I was terrified of what this whole experience might do to our family. That being the first family might mean that family came last. And sometimes it did. But my team helped make sure that that never happened too much. And because of all of you, we came out of that thing stronger, alive, thriving. And so I hope that you all know how much you mean to me and how proud I am of what we all did together. And that's true for everyone here. Whether you work directly with me or Barack, or you did work in an agency or through the embassy outside of the spotlight, so many of you were not in the spotlight working hard. Everything this administration accomplished is possible only because of your dedication and hard work. And I've been even more amazed by the work you're still doing. Oh, the organizations you were starting, the votes you're protecting, the offices you're running for, the children you are now raising, the loved ones you're taking care of, the education and healthcare and opportunities you're securing for people you've never met all across the country and around the world. So I want to just say thank you. Thank you for everything you have done this past 15 years. And thank you in advance for everything you're going to do in the years ahead. And today, that little girl that was peering out the window of the motorcade is the same age that many of you were back then, believe it or not. Today, a lot of you have your own partners and your own kids and so many more responsibilities. And all I can say is, I told you it was going to be hard. And I had to do it in the White House. So, and while the world has improved in so many ways, we all know that it's also gotten more complicated. There are a lot of reasons why those little voices of doubt might be creeping back in, wondering if people will show up for the party that we know we have to give and throw. So I hope that by seeing each other this weekend over these days, that can be a boost for us all. I know it's a boost for me. I hope it reminds you of what's possible when people, decent people of all backgrounds, of all experiences come together to make a difference. I hope you remember that with enough hustle and heart and strategy, I want to say that to the young people, strategy has got to be a part of the passion, because without it, you fail. that with all that, we can quiet our fears and silence our doubters, and together we can raise our game to match our greatest hopes. That's what you showed us 15 years ago. And that's what so many of you are still showing us every single day. So, once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you so much for everything you've done, not just for our family, but for the entire country. Barack and I love you all so much. Thank you.
Ayan po ang boses po ng former First Lady po, Michelle Obama, no? What do you think? Okay, she entered the Royal Rumble in 2024. Okay, in America. What do you think? Okay, Financial Times source, only 14% U.S. voters say Joe Biden has made them financially better off. Ulitin ko na. Only 40% of the U.S. voters say Joe Biden has made them financially better off. Financial Times source, no? Ayan. So, hindi po kaya po sa mga voters, okay, itong si President Joe Biden, no? Okay, so, ang Democrats are looking, okay, kung ako ay looking for the alternative mga suki, no? Okay, what do you think? First Lady Michelle Obama would gamble in 2024 to enter politics in the US? What do you think? Ayan po mga suki, mga kababayan, ang latest po kay former First Lady ng 8 taon, walang skandal, walang kontrobersya, okay, na sa loob po ng White House mga suki, no? Okay, malinis na record sa loob po ng 8 taon po ng nanirahan po sa White House po ang mag-asawa, parehas attorney Barack Obama and attorney Michelle Obama mga suki, no? What do you think in 2024? Okay, I'm looking for Mr. David Axelrod mga kababayan, no? Okay, isang political planner po nung panahon po ni former President Barack Obama, no? I'm still looking, to a friend, David Axelrod mga suki, no? Political strategies, sa loob po ng camp po ni former President Barack Obama, no? I saw him yesterday, no? Okay, so yesterday ay malakas pa. Bata pa kasi mga suki, no? Bata pa siya. Kumpara sa atin ay at the age of 66, no? Okay, where are you now? Okay, good morning from the Philippines, Mr. David Axelrod. Okay, magaling na planner po. Okay, the long term po ng Pangulong former President Barack Obama, no? Ayan. So, pupunta naman tayo sa Philippine Economic Briefing. Okay, ng Pilipinas. Okay, sa pamagitan po ng presidente natin po Marcos Jr., no? Nasa San Francisco po mag-a-attend ng APEC forum po. Ilang araw yan mga suki, no? Pakinggan natin kung anong may balita niya sa pag-travel niya po sa USA. Okay, para mag-attend po ng APEC forum. Okay, pakinggan natin, no? Ayan. So, ito po nga suki, no? Ayan.
In the Philippines, being a dynamic economic hub and center for technology and innovation. There is no doubt that the Philippine economy has sustained us of the recovery and has been resilient in the face of global challenges, and we and our partners remain confident that the Philippines is well established and positioned for sustained growth, and we anticipate further progress in the months ahead. All of this is made possible thanks to the vision and the leadership of our dear President. With that, let me introduce, or I have this distinct honor to introduce His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Thank you, Ambassador Fernandez, for your kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and as the ambassador has pointed out, some of our constant friends, shall we say. I use that word to avoid using the word old friends. So, our constant friends and our new friends who are here with us this morning, good morning to you all. It is a pleasure for me to close another successful Philippine economic briefing, this time here in San Francisco, home to the biggest, most innovative, and future-ready companies in the world. This marks our 12th international PEB and it's the fourth one in the United States. Since the beginning of this administration in 2022, the Philippine economic briefings have been a platform for the economic team to showcase what makes the Philippines one of the best places to do today. By bringing conversations on the country's macroeconomic fundamentals, policy roadmap, and investment opportunities closer to the international business community, we aim to reintroduce the Philippines and jumpstart meaningful, concrete, and mutually beneficial partnerships that will drive growth in the 21st century economy. Equally important, this is a deliberate and proactive way for us to generate feedback from our investor stakeholders. We consider these suggestions from our partners as vital in our efforts to shape our policies and programs to support economic transformation and recovery. Over the past year, we embarked on a journey towards economic transformation grounded on sound macroeconomic fundamentals, a favorable business climate, and agile risk management. More than 1 year on, in an uncertain global environment beset by slower growth, supply chain disruptions, and geopolitical tensions, the Philippines has continued to rise above the tide. In 2022, the Philippines registered its highest full-year GDP growth in nearly 5 decades. Just last week, we announced that the Philippine economy grew strongly by 5.9% in the third quarter of 2023, bringing our growth for the first 3 quarters of the year to 5.5%. This is the fastest growth amongst major economies in Asia, outpacing Vietnam, Indonesia, China, and Malaysia. We are confident that the country will post a full-year economic growth that is close to the 6 to 7% target for 2023. Major international financial institutions and think tanks, including the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office, agree. They project that the Philippines will outpace its major regional peers. In fact, Fitch Rating recently affirmed the stable outlook for the Philippines. This is on the back of strong growth, gradual fiscal consolidation, reductions in government debt to GDP ratio, and a comfortable external position supported by sound economic policies and robust economic reforms. Labor market conditions remain strong. We have been seeing consistently low levels of unemployment and improving quality of employment and underemployment that has been lessened and employment that has been generated. Inflation is slowly coming down. The October 2023 inflation slowed down to 4.9% from. We are committed to arresting inflation and maintaining overall price stability through supply-side interventions and demand-side management measures. This administration has put a favorable business environment.
Okay, baka kalimutan ko po, ngayon pong araw ito, ay 6 National Sardines Industry Congress, no? Eh, saan po ito gaganapin po? Parang KCC, no? KCC, ano ito, Convention Center? Tama nga. KCC, Convention Center po. Okay, start today to 17, 2023, no? Okay, pre-registration are now closed. Okay, mga suki, mga kababayan, close na po ang registration, no? Okay, ng Congress ito. Ika-6 po ng National Sardine Industry Congress. Alam na naman natin ang Ciudad de Zamboanga is the capital sardines of the Philippines, no? Kung ang Jensa, General Santos City ay tuna capital of the Philippines, ang ating syudad naman dito sa Zamboanga, kasi dito tayo taga Zamboanga, nanirahan dito tayo sa Zamboanga. Okay, pagmalakin po natin ang Zamboanga ay National Sardines National Capital Sardines of the Philippines, no? So ika-6 na po ang Congress. Okay? Ay kung yung mga naka-registered, okay, pupunta na po diyan sa SARCON. Okay, 6 National Sardine Congress po sa KCC Mall ng Zamboanga City, no? Okay. Okay, hanap buhay din ito. Okay, yung mga gusto maghanap buhay, okay, pamagitan ng sardinas, marami sa atin, yung mga may interest, ay pupunta po dyan mga kababayan. Ako ay pupunta ko, palagay ko magbisita lang mga suki, no? Okay, bilang taga-balita po, taga-pamahayag, pupunta ko dyan ay bisita lang. Okay, kahit saglit lang mga suki, no? Okay, so yan po. I-continue po natin ang ating Pangulo po ng Pilipinas, Marcos Jr., mga suki, no? Ayan.
At the center of our thrust to promote high-value investments. Commitment to purposeful reforms are also an enduring feature of Philippine economic policy making and planning. With the amendments that we have made to the Public Service Act, the Foreign Investments Act, the Retail Trade Liberalization Act, and the Renewable Energy Act, we expect an influx of highly desirable investments in strategic sectors of the economy. We have also reformed the Philippines' fiscal incentive structure through the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises, or the CREATE Act, to attract both domestic and global firms to invest in strategically important sectors. Investments in rural areas and highly advanced technology and technology-enabled projects and activities are given top priority and consequently greater and longer incentives. Investments in the digital space are also highly prioritized. Incentives are given to projects covering research and development and those adopting advanced digital production technologies such as, for example, artificial intelligence, additive manufacturing, data analytics, cloud computing, and nanotechnology. These are complemented by responsive refinements in policies that promote private sector participation in key sectors, even as we pursue legislative measures. We rapidly reformed the country's public-private partnership framework to simplify the approval processes, ensure the viability and bankability of PPP projects, to cut the red tape, and pave the way for quality infrastructure development. These reforms support the Philippines' massive infrastructure drive. We are prioritizing the implementation of 197 infrastructure flagship projects worth around 155 billion US dollars, with a sharp focus on upgrading physical and digital connectivity, water, agriculture, health, transport, and energy. In addition, we look forward to the operationalization of the Maharlika Investment Fund, the country's first ever sovereign investment fund. It will serve as an additional source and mode of financing for priority projects of the government, including the infrastructure flagship. These projects offer high rates of return and significant socio-economic impact. Currently, we have identified about 80 potential infrastructure projects that are financeable through that fund, the Maharlika Investment Fund. With a solid reform agenda and unabating growth amid headwinds, the Philippines is ready to take off as a leading investment hub in Asia. A wealth of opportunity awaits you in the Philippines, and we are ready to explore new horizons with your investments in the coming years. Welcome to the Philippines. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. Mr. President, may we have the honor of keeping you on stage as this San Francisco crowd is very eager to have a conversation with the President. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, another warm round of applause for the President of the Philippines. And this conversation, please have your seats. And this conversation is going to be led by none other than the ambassador of the U.S. ASEAN Business, the president of the U.S. ASEAN Business Council, Ambassador Ted Osius. May we call you back on stage, sir? And now we will have a conversation with the president.
Mr. President, it is a great honor. Thank you for coming back to the United States. I guess, the past 14 months, you've gone to the UN General Assembly. You had your official visit to Washington. You're back here for the APEC Summit. And, Mr. President, you were incredibly kind and welcome.
Okay, break ko muna. Okay, para naman mag-credit sa atin, no? Okay. Para mag-credit naman sa programa natin. Sayang naman. Yan.
Ang administration pinubaliga at ay nakalay sa naisipang kasalukuyan at nakapanahon. Makapolitika, makaopinyon, makakomentaryo at balika ang programa ito'y patas sa lahat. Walang tinikilingan, walang tinatampihan, at walang tinatamigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, ipagpatuloy po natin ng baliktaktakan, okay, ng ambassador ng to the Asia Pacific at saka itong si President Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. No? Okay, pakinggan natin kung anong mga tinatalakay nila rito. Ito.
And hospitable to our business delegation last summer. Thank you so much. So it's an honor to be with you again, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. One of our constant friends in the Philippines.
Thank you, sir. My first tour was in the Philippines in 1989. I have loved your country ever since. I think I speak on behalf of all of us when I say the United States welcomes the strengthened alliance that you've created with the United States, and the private sector is very eager to follow up on the comments that you've made about how to unlock the economic potential of the Philippines and how best to create partnerships in the Philippines. So with your permission, I'll jump right into a few questions. Your remarks were very inspiring. You spoke about bringing down inflation. You spoke about your country's macroeconomic performance, but there are uncertainties in the global economy. So given those uncertainties, What measures do you think are the most important that are in place so that the Philippine economy remains resilient?
Well, I think the most important thing to immediately realize is that we have to transform the economy. And it is not so much the recovery. And I think probably others have heard me say this before, but I don't view what we are trying to do as recovery. Recovering to what? Because I do not think that the aspiration is to return to 2019, 2020. And the aspiration is to transform the economy so that we are well positioned to take advantage of new technologies and also to be able to face the challenges such as climate change, which unfortunately the Philippines is very vulnerable to. So these are the new issues that we must face. Then there are the shall we say more expected issues that come about with the digital era coming into our workplaces, into our homes, into basically everything we do, and that presents great opportunities in my view. The digital space is still very much open. And I think there are very grand opportunities for the Philippines in that regard. To begin with, the Philippines, we have to get to a point where we are able to say that we are well connected in the sense that the large majority of the population has access to the internet, and that our systems are structured to make that access to the internet something of value, in that we will be able to do ordinary people no longer have to trek all the way to these regional offices that are very far away, take a good deal of time, and go through the process of getting permits and such, and do it all online. Even payments in the banking world. The banking world has led the way in this regard. The private sector has led the way, but the government still has to play a very important part in especially terms and things like cybersecurity. So these are the areas that we see. But the nuts and bolts of the economy still come down to infrastructure, the infrastructure development. And when we talk about infrastructure now, it's no longer just physical infrastructure; it includes digital infrastructure, and that is where we have really put a great deal of emphasis on. And it is the other side of it, another sector that's a very great that needs a good deal of focus is energy, water supply, and the overall issue really still here. All of those sectors that I spoke about just now, any discussion within that sector of development within that sector always ends up including climate change, and that seems to be the basis on which we have to act for the future, on which we have to design our systems, and we have to keep climate change in mind. The Philippines has it very much as a top of mind issue, simply because we have been adjudged to have the dubious distinction of being one of the most vulnerable countries when it comes to the effects of climate change, and so that will inform pretty much everything that we do as we move forward. So those are the fundamental areas that I think that we have to be looking at. And as an answer to that is one of the central principles that we have adopted is very simple: is that we see the government and the private sector very much in partnership, and I cannot see how the government can do this by themselves. I do not see how the private sector can do it by themselves. It has to be a partnership, and the partnership has to extend not only to between the private sector and the public sector, but also we call it the whole of government approach, that every resource that we have available must be put to work to try and bring us as quickly as possible to that transformation that I speak about.
Thank you, Mr. President. Those partnerships, thank you. Those partnerships with the private sector are incredibly important, including in the area that you just emphasized, infrastructure, investment in infrastructure. And we've heard a lot today about Build Better More and the importance that your government places in investing in connectivity, digital connectivity, and infrastructure. Can you tell us a little bit about how these investments may improve the lives of ordinary Filipinos?
Well, in our case, when we talk about, we definitely foreign investment is, of course, is a critical part of it. And government public spending only goes so far, and certainly there is a very clear delineation about what government really has as a responsibility and is designed to do, such as public service. And there is what the private sector is designed to do. We see the complementarities that we are trying to adopt and trying to encourage. So the opening of areas, for example, just when we talk about infrastructure, let me start with digital infrastructure. Just for a place, a school, for example, or a village, to suddenly today, as opposed to yesterday, have connectivity and are able to go on the internet, the immediate improvement in all areas, in terms of the efficiency of the local government, in terms of the currency of the lessons that are being taught to children in school, in terms of the convenience of financial transactions being done over the internet, immediately increases the productivity of a person. And that is really what we are going for, because when we look to successful economies that have had to pick themselves up after war, for example, and the COVID was a kind of a war, so we have to pick ourselves up from that. It is productivity; it's an increase in productivity, and that is what we are trying to. That's what we are trying to achieve. Infrastructure, the physical infrastructure, a better, a more efficient transport system, a cheaper transport system. All of this will increase the productivity of every single Filipino worker. And again, that is, I think, at the end of it all, the jobs will come, the investment will come, the growth will come if we if we do all that we can to increase the productivity of every single Filipino.
From Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, throughout the nation. Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, since we're in San Francisco, leaders will meet tomorrow to discuss the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. If I may just ask you about trade. What steps are you considering to diversify the Philippines' trading partners? And are there plans to facilitate international partnerships and collaborations that could benefit local businesses in the Philippines?
Well, there's still many opportunities ever since the travel, for example, and the transport systems were opened up after COVID that's sort of subsided. We can see that there's still a great shortfall in terms of that kind of physical connectivity. And that's why ASEAN has taken a very strong position and said that we have to increase our physical connectivity within the region, within ASEAN. If we are to regain in ASEAN, if we are to regain once again the leading role that ASEAN had played previous to COVID, we're very much one of the most vibrant, if not the most vibrant regional economies was in ASEAN. If we are to regain that position, then the connectivity and the supply chains must be improved. So for our part, that's what we are doing, and that brings us now beyond just the pure economic considerations, because now there are political and diplomatic considerations, because these partnerships are now essential. economy is, well, I know we've heard it many times, but I think today we can absolutely, without fear of contradiction, we can absolutely say that the economy is truly global. And so we must, again, view all that we do in that context. And that's why these kinds of conferences, these kinds of summits, these kinds of groups that have come together are so important. The partnerships that we make, the alliances that we make, both political, diplomatic, economic, are going to be the, shall we say, stabilizer in these very uncertain times.
Thanks to your leadership, Mr. President. And I've been told that I must wrap it up. I want to ask you more questions, but I understand your time is very precious. You have a lot to do while you're here in San Francisco. Maraming salamat, Mr. President. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the President of the Republic of the Philippines. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador Osios.
Okay, marunong pala mag-Tagalog yun sa ambassador yan. Matagal sa Manila ata yun. Okay, matagal sa bansa natin, no? Okay. So, dapat samantalain natin. Okay, kasi maganda po ang atmosphere po ng pagnegosyo mga suki, no? Okay, mga may pera ay dapat samantalahin mga suki, no? Okay. Okay ang growth, okay ang inflation, okay ang financial system. Anong gagawin natin? Okay, dahil samantalahin natin po ay okay, maka-expand tayo ng mga negosyo mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Okay, kahit maliliit, katulad itong ako, dapat kahit maliliit po ay ang hanap buhay natin dapat sasabay tayo po mga kababayan, no? Okay. Puhunan naman natin Hindi naman puhunan nila. Tayo lang po ang magplano po ng sarili natin, no? Ayan. Puhunan lang naman natin, hindi puhunan nila. Okay, so kung meron pag-expand, dapat po mag-expand habang okay po ang ekonomiya natin, no? Okay, tuloy-tuloy hanggang 2024. Ayan, mapalago po ang mga negosyo-negosyo natin, no? Pati na rin ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. Okay, dapat po ay tuloy-tuloy. Yan kasi ang barometer, no? Okay, kahit sino pa leader po mga kababayan, basta magandang ekonomiya ay yan po ang barometer ng batayan. Okay, ng bansa mga suki, no? Ayan. Kaya nga, pag masama ang ekonomiya, masama rin po ang kinabukasan natin, no? Ayan, kung magandang ekonomiya, okay, maganda rin po ang buhay ng mga Pilipino mga suki, no? Ayan, so wala nang oras. Okay, time naman tayo po nagpaalam, no? Okay. Limit lang po natin ang oras natin. Okay, 1 oras lang, no? Okay, at anong pang balita ng kasalang, kung abot na 1 oras po, ay tama na. Okay. Maging disciplinary rin tayo sa ating mga programa, no? Okay. Dapat lang ganun. Pag 1 oras, 1 oras lang mga suki, no? Ayan. Marami pong nakasalang pero wala ng oras. Ayan. So, dito natin tapusin po ang balita natin, no? Ito po. Okay, wag mo nating gayahin po ang bansang Israel at saka itong Hamas. Huwag nating gayahin, pabayaan sila kung hindi sila makinig. Okay, kung maubos sila, okay lang. Wala tayong problema. So tayo ang okay, buhay na buhay mga global citizen, tayo ang okay, mag-enjoy po sa para sa kinabukasan natin. No? Sila hayaan mo. Maubos man sila magpatayan, okay, ang bansang Israel at saka itong mga Hamas, silang po gumawa po ng problema, hindi tayo. Ganun lang po ang panindigan dapat, no? Okay, tayo po ay okay, gusto natin ng kapayapaan. Pag sila okay, magbakbakan, hindi sila mapigilan, sige lang. Okay, matira po mga suki, no? Okay. Ay, paisingit ko lang ito, no? Kahit, oo, no? Mamuntik ko kalimutan ito, no? Okay, isingit ko lang. Ang channeling a news farm fund for normalization, no? Galing po Senate ng Pilipinas, Senate of the Philippines, okay, pamagitan po ni Senator okay, Robin Hood Padilla. Buti naalala ko ito, no? Suggest, okay, the possibility of a channeling, maraming po pondo hindi nagamit, no? Okay, a news fund in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, BARM, to provide a livelihood assistance, okay, to the rebel returnees. Okay, Padilla proposed the idea after learning about some 50 billion pesos in a news fund in the BARM, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. Ibig sabihin, no? So marami pang pondo po sa BARM government, no? That could be put to good use. According to Padilla, the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity of APRO, and the BARM could explore the possibility of using a portion of the unutilized funds for the normalization process. No? If we neglect the combatants, we must face the problem and not tell them to wait for next year. They are the ones experiencing poverty on the grounds 24 hours a day. Padilla said during a plenary deliberations, the proposed budget of OPAPRO on Wednesday, November 15, 2023, approximately 9.7 billion pesos is needed to fulfill the targeted normalization program involving 14,000 MILF combatants, mga kababayan, no? Okay, so marami pa lang pondo sa BARM na hindi nagamit, no? Okay, underspend ibig sabihin ang pamalaan ng BARM, no? Okay, hindi kaya okay, i-disburse okay ng pondo ng BARM, no? Okay, so mag-request po ng 50 billion mga suki, no? Ayan, so tapos na ang balita. Overtime naman ako, wala naman bayad. Okay, sige lang. Mga suki-suki, no? Okay, public service na yon. Ayan po mga suki, mga kababayan ng balita natin sa umagang ito, no? Okay, continue natin ito. Ayan. Ayan po mga suki. Ito po mga
Awesome! Awesome! Awesome!
okay, itong programa ko meron salitang combination ng Maranao, Maguindanao, at saka Tausug. Gumagamit ng salitang uway. Uway ba? Uway. Oh, ito, narinig ba ito? Na, uway. Okay, kaya nga, ang programa po para sa mga minority, mga suki, na? Ayan. So dito po nagtapos ang balita, okay, sa ADLSNTV, okay, corporation in the heart of Filipinos, global citizens, and global community, at para sa lahat mga suki, na? Ito po ang purpose po ng programa natin, kapayapaan po ng buong daigdig po mga suki, na? Ayan. So yan po ang katapusan ng balita natin, na? Okay, dito lamang po sa Halo-Halo Special Opinion Balita at iba pa. Kasama po sa Serbisyo Publiko Tinig ng Mamamayan. Okay. At saka sumbungan ng mamamayan, no? Mga sumbong ito, parte na rin po sa mga foreign national po ay magsumbong na sa atin, no? Okay, mag-complain na. Paano kaya naintindihan nila ang programa ko, no? Kasi may English, no? Kasi ang news, English. Okay, English version mga kababayan, no? Okay, pag Pilipino ay mahirap nila maintindihan, no? Baka hinabol lang nila itong news natin kasi English, global mga suki ang dating. Ayan, global naman talaga. Ayan. So, yan po ang katapusan ng balita natin sa umagang ito. Okay, pinupunduhan po ng Mind of Global Food Lines. Okay, para mabuo ang programa at saka itong ADLSNTV Corporation, no? Wala kayong news kung hindi kung walang itong kung walang Mind of Global Food Lines at saka ADLSNTV Corporation, wala kayong news. Okay, wala kayong news manggaling sa akin, na? So, yung araw-araw, patak ng patak ang gastos po ng Mind of Global Food Lines at saka itong ADLSNTV Corporation, no? Patak yun, babawas yun. Okay. So, iba naman ang papasok ng papasok. Okay, araw-araw din. Ayan po mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Okay, ganun. Dagdag bawas ba? May papasok, may lalabas. So, ganun po. Ang sistema po ng Consolidated News natin, no? Okay, nagtapos dito. Wala tayong masamang tinapay. Okay, magbisita tayo, no, sa mga sa mga occasion, mga event, mga suki, no? Ayan. So, yan po ang katapusan ng balita. Paalam tayo. Okay, this has been Abs Damahan lamang po. Okay, sa umagang ito, no? Marami pa ako doon sa note ko pero hindi na kaya po mga suki. Okay, baka mamayang gabi na lang, no? Ayan.
Ang Governor Special Opinion Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa may subang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapatingin, mapakomentaryo at balita ang programa ito'y patas sa lahat. Walang tinikilingan, walang tinatanggihan, at walang tinatamigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahaminan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, dalawang channel po ang ginagamit natin, no? Pero marami po papasukan yon. Okay, maraming papasukan. Okay, sa mga ibang katulad po ng social media platform, no? Okay. So, ganun lang. Okay, makita sa YouTube, and then makikita po sa itong Facebook ang balita natin, no? Hanapin lang, ADLSNTV News Online, makita nyo mga suki, no? Ayan, mga tagapakinig natin. Okay. Parehas, ADLSNTV News Online, o kaya pangalan ko Abdul Jaman Damahan, sa Facebook naman makita nyo mga suki, no? Okay.